I have 7:02. Good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order.
And Mick is just joining.
Perfect.
Emily.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with roll call.
Gonzalez.
Here. Did you say many?
I did. Got you. Mason,
Here.
Munzone.
Here.
Thanks, Eric. Pelletier here. Puzo.
Here.
Swanson. Did you say Mick was on?
He is on, yes.
Here.
Thank you. Jost.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Before we move on to any,
And then just because we need to read it into the record, we have guests. We should read the guests. Dan Port and Tiffany Nash from Product Architecture Plus Design, and then Jason Bakunis from SMC, and then the director.
thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah. No, that flows very beautifully right into the next thing. So before we go into any reports, there's actually a change in the agenda. I'm actually going to move up the youth service renovation update right now before we move on any further. As you can see, we do have some guests here tonight. Tiffany and Dan from Product Architecture Plus Design, which I'm actually going to get, smoothly being able to say now, Product Architecture Plus Design. A little bit of a tongue twister. So thank you both for being here. And then Jason Pacunas, I don't know if hopefully I'm saying that right, Jason. And from SMC. So they have all taken time out of their evening to give us a little update and answer any questions with the youth service renovation.
Can I interrupt really fast, Emily? We did have another caller come on. I don't know if they're a guest. If you could either identify yourself in the chat or unmute yourself and let us know.
Oh, Tiffany.
Is that Tiffany?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Could you please identify yourself? Okay, sorry. I just saw another phone number pop on, and I wanted to make sure we were recognizing guests.
None of our audio is working when we
Oh,
come in
okay.
on our computer.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah, Tiffany and Dan, I know we haven't seen you guys in a while, but we did get a look at the boards, and we have shared them with the public, and we've been getting lots of awesome feedback. It's a bright light in an otherwise gloomy time, I guess I'll say. So,
Yes, that's right.
Pam, do we want to kick off with questions right away? Do you want to say anything first?
I thought I would just say, so publicity, I just wanted to call everyone's attention. I think I forwarded it to you guys. There was a very nice article in the Trib about the renovation. And obviously, we have the boards up in the library. It's going to be on the front page of the newsletter. It's gone out in one of the email blasts, and it's on the front page of the website. And we have a renovation page started and everything. So far, feedback has been really positive. So hopefully that will continue. I don't know if Tiffany and Dan had planned to show anything. I know that Jason is here tonight to kind of walk us through the budget documents a little bit, just to give you guys a sense of where we're at. And answer any questions that you may have. So I don't know, Tiffany and Dan, did you want to show any updated plans? I mean, I think most of the board has seen them, but I didn't know if there was anything that you guys wanted to show, or just are here to answer any questions.
Yeah, nothing's really changed since what we showed the board before, and the updates that you've shown them with the materials. That works perfect. If people want to see images too, we can. But we feel like you guys have seen it pretty thoroughly, for sure.
Does anyone want to see the images? Are you pretty comfortable with what we've got?
Good.
Oh, okay. So Jason, the board does have the budget breakdowns that you had sent me. So I don't know, if you want to walk them through that, or if anyone on the board has questions, if you want to approach it that way. I don't know how we want to work that.
Yeah, I could start to go through that. I'm just opening it up on the computer right now.
Which one will you start with, Jason? Just so we can, because they've got the two that you sent me, I think.
Yeah, the budget spreadsheet
Mhm.
showing, and then the updated one with the cost breakdown, which shows all the hard trade costs. That's I'm waiting for it to pull up, but I think it just comes in less than $1 million, like 909,000. It's pulling up right now. I'm sorry. There we
So
go.
is this the budget summary where you've broken out the operating budget, or it's the other one?
It's the other one. The cost projection summary. So
Yeah.
we went through, working with product to evaluate and get pricing, brought subcontractors through to get some budget pricing based on the drawings provided. Came up with a hard cost estimate of $919,000 for all those costs in the base bid. Right now there's 7 alternates. Alternate one's the office ceiling over in the youth services staff area. The other is just the staff lounge in general. So base bid's not doing anything with that area, and the alternates remodeling that area. Alternate 3 is the storefront that leads to the courtyard, replacing that. Alternate 4 is a wall panel that goes on the brick wall when you come down the stairs. Alternate 5 is upgrading the main desktops from a laminate top to like a Corian. And alternate 7 is some panels. Is a decorative panel to go in the teen center. And then alternate 7 is adding a window, basically cutting a window into the existing foundation wall in that same area. So moving down to we have some allowances for the staff bathroom, remodel, refresh, some technology for some monitors, projectors, the asbestos testing and abatement, and some moving costs to relocate the collection out of the way during construction and then move it back. And then below that, the next group down is the design contingency, the general requirements budget, the SMC fees. If you go to the line below there, it's all the SMC pre-construction, the FF&E allowance, and products fees as well, which total a cost of $1.524202. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions on what I just went over.
Does anyone have any questions about either the budget itself or the various alternates? No? Okay. We were, I think I was pretty happy with the way that the numbers came in, especially as we started to look at some of those soft costs, some of the consulting fees. For example, Tiffany and Dan's fees is primarily going to be paid out of this year. And we may pay for some other things out of this year because we do have some excess funds that we can put towards this. And so I was pretty pleased with that we were able to get the numbers down. And so hopefully, I think our hope once we get into the bidding process is to have hopefully some of the contracts come in a little bit under what we budgeted for, and then, or find ways that we can do some of these alternates at the same time that we're doing everything else rather than putting them off for another time.
And then also another nice thing about the alternates too is, like Pam was saying, if bids come in under budget, we're able to grab a couple of these alternates. There's also some alternates out there that can wait till later in the project that we could do, as we get through the demolition stages and start putting those space back together, that we might be able to take advantage of and accept those later in the project. So.
Pam, who makes the decisions on the alternates, and what's the timing? Like, at what point or how much time would the board be given to advise or consult?
So it's been through a lot of discussion between me and youth services staff and Tiffany and Dan. And then, as Jason and John Shales from Shales McNutt came in, with them, saying, here's what we could do with the monies that we know we're going to get. And what are the priorities with that? So what kind of, once we figured that out, then there were these other things that either came out of that process or that we knew we would want to have done if we could get the funding for it. So we sat down the other day, actually, that group of people that I just mentioned, and kind of talked through what the priorities are. And as Jason has them laid out on the page, that is our priority list, how they would go in order. So a lot of that's just going to depend on what monies we've got available, and and then look at that list again and figure out, if we've got a certain amount of money, does that change the priority at all or something like that. So
Okay,
we're
so
not gonna know really till the bids come in.
yeah, it'll be like a work in progress.
Right.
Got it.
And,
Yeah,
and
like-
maybe Jason or Tiffany and Dan can jump in about that process a little as well.
Yeah. So there's some alternates we need to accept right away in order to implement. For example, alternate 1 and alternate 2, they involve some demo scope, which is happening early in the project. But alternates like 3, for example, can be released later in the project, as well as like alternate 4. They're kind of independent, separate pieces. So alternate 5 is something we have a little bit of time on while we're going through the casework shop drawing review process. So we have a little bit of time. And then like alternate 6 is a nice clean one we can always add, at the end of the project as well. Alternate 7 is another, heavy demo. We had to cut a hole in the foundation. Well, obviously a decision on that one would need to happen right away on that one. But there's half of the alternates.
Jason, who is making the decision? Is it Pam? Is it Pam and the board? I'm not understanding how the alternate decision process works.
Yeah. First line, we'd run it through, see where the numbers go. We would meet after the bids are open to kind of establish a priority, what ones are able to afford. We can present a couple different scenario RTAs for the board to approve as well. So if we're able to accept alternate 1 and 2 now, we include that within our RTA. We can kind of manage that as we see once the bids are open. So you guys will be able to choose. I can also set up the RTA so there's a checklist of, hey, these alternates are accepted, and then we can add it that way. And Pam, I'm not trying to speak. Does that sound?
Yeah, does that, so after the bids are open, Lima, the board has to approve all those bids, and as part of all of that is when we'll look at the alternates and then decide at that level which ones we're going to accept.
Okay.
That's one.
I just
one
wanted to have enough time as the board to review and make decisions, it's
Right.
like, when I saw these alternates listed, I was like, oh my God, tonight, are we supposed to like?
Oh, no. Yeah, that would be after the bids are open and we see how all the different numbers come in, and then we'll have that discussion. And once, SMC presents all of their numbers and everything and recommendations about how to move forward, and then we would look at those and make those decisions.
Got it.
Without the ones that have been discussed, it's about a 1.8 for everything. Am I correct about that, based on what I'm seeing?
Yeah, if we did everything exactly the way that it's laid out here,
Yeah.
all in, with the estimates, right?
And that's if they don't come in under bid, which is probably, everyone's gonna want to get the best bid in for, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and we knew going into the process that we weren't going to be able to have everything. I mean, obviously the hope is, and it's our hope that given the current economic situation, we've heard several times, and Jason and Tiffany and Dan can speak to this probably, definitely better than I can, about this being a good time to move forward with this. And we're really hoping to get some price reductions and some of that so that we can do some of these alternates.
Yeah, it's a good time to bid right now, and the schedule of the project is good. We're going to implement this work ahead of the school rush. So that's also a good time for the work. Once you're competing with the schools and schoolwork, the prices tend to escalate. But we're slipping this, we're not, I shouldn't say slipping, we're bidding this at a very good time. And then we are, implementing the work. The schedule is going to be very attractive to a lot of these subcontractors as well.
So, Jason, I have a question. So that kind of was something that I was thinking about. So you don't anticipate, you think we'll be getting competitive bids for this project with even with all the economic stress that everyone seems to find themselves in during this pandemic. You don't think that'll be a factor? You still think that competitive bids will be successful?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a good market to be out on the street with bids. I think it's an excellent time at this point in time, even though there's economic uncertainty and other stuff going on. It's the market's been pretty good on the bidding process.
And yeah, we have two projects out to bid right now, and one is at Indian Prairie and Darien, and one is in Michigan City. And I think, what'd you say, Tiffany, 47 contractors looked at Indian Prairie and 33 looked at Michigan City, which is, I'm going to say, 200 times what used to been happening. There's a ton of questions. It's not, and it really is an incredibly competitive market. So actually your worry is exactly the opposite of what's happening. People are hungry and they're trying to make sure they have work on the books for next year. And we are blown away by the amount of, and it's a much smaller, well, it's about the same size renovation as yours actually. It's on 2 floors, but smaller work. But we're just like, holy cow. Normally we would expect 5 to 6 contractors and it's 43. So it's incredible. And we're really happy because what that means is good coverage. And that's a general contractor, which is slightly different, but it doesn't matter because they're getting numbers from subs in the same way that Jason will be. So you're bidding at a perfect time, actually, from what we can tell.
Great.
I think we agree.
I have a question. When we get these bids in, are you gonna, there's obviously gonna be more than one bid for all these different projects, but are you gonna recommend to us as a board, because which of these bids would be the best to take because they're giving us more bang for our buck, or however you want to look at it? Are you going to be here to consult us on that, or at least give us a heads up?
No, definitely. So I'll just walk through the process. Once we open the bids. Oh, I'm sorry. Once we walk through the process, we'll open the bids. We'll also have to evaluate. So we'll bring in each contractor, parent load contractor, and qualify their bid. So we'll walk through the scope of work, make sure they have everything covered that was required of that particular bid package or scope. And then we will make an award, award based on that, the lowest qualified bidder. So there's a vetting process that will happen that we need to do to make that recommendation to the board.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions for Jake? Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, do we want to go over that budget spreadsheet that?
Yeah. So the second,
well?
the second document that I had sent you guys was a breakdown. SMC looked at this. Jason looked at the overall budget, and the 1.631 number here does not reflect the architect fees that we're paying out of this year. So so don't necessarily pay any attention to that. But the reason that I asked Jason to put this together was that this shows the potential budget, overall budget, if we choose to do some of the stuff out of operating costs. And we're already doing that somewhat this year. Like I said, we're already paying some architect fees and some different things like that. But this is SMC's best estimate as how we could potentially break out some of those costs and absorb them into our normal operating budget for both this year and for next year. So it was just a slightly different breakdown of looking at the overall budget costs and looking at ways that it could, different funding buckets, if you will, how we could fund that. And so we just wanted to the board to see that some of what we're looking at doing in the lower level is not necessarily related to the YS renovation. There are things that we would maybe have done anyway, such as replace the patio doors and do some of those other kinds of things. So we tried to, again, look at what did it make sense to kind of break out on an operating budget, from an operating budget viewpoint, as opposed to like a renovation project budget. So that's what this page shows. So I don't know, Jason, if you want to talk any more about that. Or
Yeah,
if I explained it wrong or something.
Oh, no, you did an excellent job of explaining it. Yeah, the base bid total is just the numbers that kind of match the spreadsheet minus the architect fees that is adjusted. So that the adjustment between the two spreadsheets is about $107,000. So we also listed other potential operating items such as the asbestos testing that was done, which could be taken out of the 2020 budget. The SMC pre-con fees, that work will be done, as well as a down payment on furniture is another thing that could be absorbed through the 2020 budget. And then the next item is this 2021 budget that just shows other items within the current scope of the project that could be taken out of that bucket if needed. And then the final item is just all the items that remain to kind of, that would just be if the items were taken out of the 2020 and 2021 budget, the remaining project budget would total $1,341,642 if this plays out the way we think it is. So again, this is kind of a live living document. We can adjust it as, when we actualize stuff and project 2021 to give a more accurate description or projection of what we could do.
Anyone have any questions about that? Like I said, just a slightly different presentation of the numbers. No. So Jason, I thought if you could just give them a quick rundown of kind of the pre-bid process that we're getting ready to go into. I think that would be useful.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to get the drawings from product later this month. We will assemble, refine the scopes of work. The bids will go, we plan to go out to bid on December 1st. A week into the bids, we going to hold some pre-bid meetings because of the COVID and the restrictions to how many people you can invite into the building. We've actually going to set up like 4 meetings, give the contractors an opportunity to attend those meetings. We'll reserve seats and coordinate with them to make sure we don't exceed the limits set forth. We'll attend those pre-bid meetings. Any information will be transmitted via like a addendum. As questions come through, we'll answer them via addendum to the documents. Once those addendum are through, we plan to open the bids on the 21st, so right before Christmas. Then we will be vetting those bids, doing the scope reviews, and preparing that recommendation a week before your January 14th meeting. Once that, we'll have that recommendation to Pam to look at, and then we'll also be on site to, we'll also be at the January 14th meeting to approve those bids, or for the approval of those bids, I should say. You want me to go into like the what happens after that for construction or approximate timeline, Pam?
Does the board want to hear that now? I mean, I think that, a summary of that probably would be good. So
That would be helpful just in terms of the holidays and what.
Yes, kind of thinking long-term.
Yeah, so yeah, we would be scope reviewing through the holidays into the beginning part of January. Once the board approves the RT, the recommendation to award, we'll reach out to the contractors, start the submittal process, procure insurance, safety plans, all that stuff. Get geared up to start. We're targeting end of February to start. We just want to get some commitments on lead times and materials and stuff like that, making sure we can meet the schedule based on lead times. And then if we do start the end of February, we're targeting the late June, early July for a substantial completion of the space and getting it ready to reinstall furniture, the stacks, move the collection back down.
Jason?
Yes.
You had mentioned materials, construction materials. Are you anticipating any shortages? I'm asking because there's a few houses being built in my area, and I'm hearing that there are shortages of various construction materials. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, we're seeing a lumber shortage a little bit here and there. We don't, there is residential, I know, is getting hit by the lumber shortage. Commercial, we're just seeing varying lead time. Go a little bit longer than we're used to seeing, a week or two typically. Again, once we sit down with all the subs, we will, get some commitments on those lead times. Generally speaking, the items that I'd be concerned with lead time and schedule impact would be the structural steel for the openings and like door frames. But I'm fairly certain, even with the current situation, that we could meet the schedule based on those. I'm not anticipating any shortages or materials not being available. And if they are, we will work with product to develop some alternatives and look at different products or pieces that we could substitute to meet the schedule as well. So there's some options there for us. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Any other questions for either Jason or Tiffany or Dan? Or do Tiffany and Dan want to say anything?
Well, it took me the entire board meeting to figure out how to unmute myself, so.
Now you have to say something.
Yeah, so I just had to say hi.
We're glad you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, give you guys an update of where we're at. Obviously, things are moving right along, and as we've said all along, this is kind of a silver lining to this whole crazy time right now. So, fingers crossed that everything continues to go pretty smoothly with it. So it's been really great having Jason take care of all of these different types of things. So thank you, Jason, and Tiffany and Dan, as always, are lovely to work with. So it's been a fun process so far, but a little stressful right now.
Yeah,
It'll be a
I was going to say that Jason and SMC have been really thorough with the pricing. Actually, there was a lot of back and forth with contractors and subcontractors, looking at drawings, looking at ways to value engineer things. We rarely get to call things value engineering. Usually it's just cutting and slashing. So it was really a nice process to make sure that you guys are getting the value out of your project as we're drawing it, rather than just put things out to bid and then have to correct them. So I'd say it was what was it, Pam? A couple weeks we worked together and really made sure that we were getting everything done as efficiently as possible. And Jason was really good about then taking that back to subcontractors and making sure that it was reflecting market conditions. So we were really happy with the validity of the numbers, one thing, and then just the thoroughness of the numbers too. It helped in terms of design to make sure that we were moving forward with something that we could have confidence in. So it was a great process for sure.
I totally agree.
Well, any questions? I don't want to cut anybody off. It's always hard to make
I
sure.
don't have any questions. I just want to thank them for this presentation, even though I don't know what you look like because I'm looking at two telephones here. So I ever see
I'm the
you,
one telephone.
have another,
in the library, you know, I don't know what you look like, but
Yeah, yeah.
He's really tall, and you probably will see him at some point, since I think once things start, and he's already been there quite a bit, but I'm sure once things really start, we'll be good friends.
Exactly. We'll definitely, for the recommendation to award, I'll make sure I get on my computer in terms of time. So,
Well, thank you all for Dan, Tiffany, Jason. Thank you all
Thank you.
for coming to our meeting and sharing the details. Again, we're thrilled to be a part of this project and very grateful for everyone's expertise. And thanks for taking the time out of your evening. And stay healthy and stay safe and happy holidays.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
We'll
thanks,
see you
guys.
later.
All
Have a
right,
great
bye.
evening.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. I still see some numbers down there. I don't know if, oh, they're hanging up. Okay,
I don't know
All
who
right.
Mr. Harrod is.
here we go. All right, so now we are back up to number 3, which is the approval of the regular board meeting minutes. I know I did see some corrections, but just so we're following procedure, I'll make a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes for October 8th, 2020.
I second it.
Thank you. There was a couple of typos. I can go in order, Pam, but there was under the YS renovation, second paragraph, Director Leffler also presented the construction management services contract between the library and the Shales McNutt. So either just get rid of the or construction management company, but I'm assuming just Shales McNutt. The upcoming board meetings, Executive Director Leffler will work on the board meeting dates for 2021. I believe, and guys correct me, but I believe that was more of a discussion that we had to discuss virtual versus in-person meetings and to kind of evaluate as an as-needed basis. Not a huge deal. Under Executive Director Leffler, evaluation bylaws are written has an I instead of
Oh,
I.
yeah.
Under communications, and this is kind of on A, but Mayor DiMaria from residents of the homestead and
Yep.
more on, yeah, you saw that. Okay.
Yeah, my apologies. These were the last set of minutes that Teresa had done before her last day, and I did not read them over before I sent them out to you. So I will make those corrections.
There were just a few, yeah, nothing major. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
no, I know, but I will, like I said, I usually try to read them over, but with everything else going on, I didn't get a chance to before I sent them out. So
a couple things on your plate. Yes. So we'll just change that to so approve the board meeting minutes as amended.
Okay, we ready to vote on those? Mesa Jarek,
Yes.
Monzone,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Puzo,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
thank you, Jost,
Yes.
Gonzalez. I see you saying yes, you're muted, but I see your mouth. Thank you.
that muting.
Okay, next public comments, agenda items only. Is this do we have anyone? Sorry, you muted, Pam.
I do believe there is a guest, Mr. Harrod is a guest. I don't know if you would like to say anything, Mr. Harrod.
I have no public comments.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. President's report. Well, I do have something kind of cool to share, but I actually had someone make a comment to me that in the entire time that they've been a Morton Grove resident, they had never, this is an adult, they never registered, felt compelled to register as an adult for any programming. And then the last couple months has registered for 3 different events and thoroughly enjoyed. And so always good to get a little positivity. So I just thought I'd share that. And so we can move on to committee reports. So first we have finance. I don't know if Carlotta or Eric wants to take the lead on this. If not, I can keep talking.
I gotta pull it up. Hold on.
Okay, no worries.
While she's doing that, Carlotta, do you want me to talk about what we're going to be doing with paying the bills with Sickich?
Oh, yeah, because that's fine. Yeah.
So as you are aware, Teresa's last day was November 4th. Wanting to get a better handle on everything that admin assistant position does, and with the timing of everything else, there wasn't a lot of time to get anyone hired. So we've chosen, and I think I've talked about this with the board before, and I've spoken about it with Carlotta, that Sickich, who does our audit, can also provide some accounting services. And so I had a long meeting with them, and what we're doing going forward, at least for the next few months, is one of the staff accountants from Sickich will come out every other week on a Monday and do all of our accounts payable stuff. So, double check the invoices, run the checks, do the general ledger, and then once a month they'll balance the end of month reconciliations. And so that will give me an opportunity to kind of figure out what else has to happen out of an admin assistant position. I already have a list started, but that will at least be able to get the bills paid. And I've already spoken with Carlotta about coming every other week to sign the checks, because Bridget, that's the woman's name who's going to be coming out, is going to be out every other Monday. So we're starting that this Monday. So I've been working from home quite a bit this week just because I've had a ton of meetings and stuff. And so tomorrow I'll be going in and going through all the invoices and making sure that they're coded correctly so that when Bridget comes in Monday, she can kind of hit the ground running. She's already come in and met with Teresa for one whole day before Teresa left. So I feel it's going to be different for us, but Sickich is great. I mean, they're, like I said, they also do our audit, and the people that we work with are really good. And so I feel like this is kind of the best solution that we have right now, just with all the other things going on. So yeah. So go ahead, Carlotta, if you want to talk about that.
If we are okay with issuing these checks every other week, I mean, we're not going to be in default or anything like that.
Yeah, we should be totally fine. I mean, a lot of libraries don't pay their bills except once a month. So, and most of the vendors are used to working with libraries. So, going from, every week to every other week should not have any negative impact on anything like that. So, we'll be monitoring that, of course. And, I always have the ability to run a check myself. I mean, I can do that. I can pay the bills. I've done it when Blanche wasn't there and stuff. It is nice that I won't have to do that because, as there's a lot of other things going on. So, if there's ever an instance where we have to run a check in between that time period, I can certainly do that.
And then Sickich will bill us. We'll be writing a check to Sickich every month.
Yeah, so we'll be billed for the accounting services because they have to keep it separate because of auditing rules.
Right.
So the accounting services will be billed on an hourly basis. So for example, if Bridget comes in one day and she's only got to be here a few hours, we'll only pay her for that. Or, we'll just be billed for that amount. If there's a day, like our audit is coming up, so there may be a day that she's out for a full day helping me gather some of that stuff. So it's just going to be dependent on how many hours she's out each time.
Okay, I forgot to ask you that question.
Yep.
Quarterly, week, monthly, or how that works. Okay.
Yeah, I believe they send us invoices because occasionally we would have to call and talk to one of their accountants if we had a question about the general ledger. I believe they send us bills once a month, and I would imagine it'll be the same thing for this.
I think so too, as I remember. All right, I would like to make a motion to approve the financial reports for October 2020.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to just start with the cash statement?
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions? Petty cash is pretty low. Oh, I thought, okay, I'm sorry. I thought somebody said something. Let's see now which is next. The income statement. So hard to pull these up. Any questions on that? Ooh. So we've gotten all our money in.
Yeah, it looks like we've gotten almost all of our tax money in, so yay. You know, as I've said previously, I mean, things can obviously change, but you know, the village administrator seems fairly confident that property tax income will remain fairly reliable. So, and certainly this has borne that out. And then you'll also see that we did get the grant under the per capita grant. I think I mentioned that in my report, so that's also reflected here. But I'm actually pretty pleased with, you know, the revenues that have come in, and then as well as our expenditures, which we've been able to cut for, you know, in some areas for obvious reasons.
Right, but we still have 25%, if I'm reading this right, but that's November and December. The expenses, I'm sorry, correct? Am I looking at that right? It's okay.
So yeah, so we do have 2 more months. So at the end of October, that's actually 83% of the year gone. And so we've only spent 75% of our overall budget.
So is that where that comes from for the construction, the savings in terms of spreading it out over 2021 for the?
Yeah, and so, yeah, I mean, and some of that had actually even been planned. I mean, and we just ended up, you know, we had like $150 in construction in progress that, you know, we anticipated putting towards something like this. And then obviously areas that we just haven't had the expenditures because of, you know, being closed or COVID or limiting some of those, you know, some of our other services like programming and those kinds of things. So, you know, no, it's money that we've got. So, you know, if we can offset some of those expenditures for next year into this year, then, you know, then that's what we're trying to do for some of that.
Maximize the utilization. I got you.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
What are we doing? A check registry? Are there any questions on that?
St. Martha's is still raising the fees on the parking?
Yep.
I know they have to. I mean, I'm just asking. Okay.
Yeah, and that contract is actually negotiated with the Archdiocese. So, you know, St. Martha's might want to be really nice to us. And years ago, we actually contracted with St. Martha's, and then they switched, and the Archdiocese of Chicago took it all over. And it was at that point that we get dinged every year now and stuff. So
they're going to start changing that next year. There's going to be a bunch of changes, and they're going to. St. Martha's is not going to be the one negotiating the contract anyway. So the Archdiocese.
Hopefully, maybe they can sell us the parking lot part. But I did also want to mention one thing. If you're looking at the check register, check number 4838, it's TIAA Bank. That's actually the monthly fees for copiers and toner and stuff that we have a contract with the service in. And I just renegotiated that for $400 less a month. So we'll start to see those savings, and I believe for next month. So
are we hurting without the vending machine revenue?
You know, it adds up, and I had planned throughout this year to use, you know, because we were getting, I can't even remember at this point, but, you know, a not insubstantial amount, considering that, you know, our vending stock was pretty cheap. We had the best game in town, you know, lowest prices. You know, that gave me the opportunity to build up the special reserves kind of a little bit at a time, and really not having that money to do that on a kind of regular basis that I was planning. I'm noticing that a little bit now, but it's had less impact than I thought it would. So, because so much, you know, for good or for bad, so much of our revenue is derived from property taxes, so.
Any more questions? Okay, what are we doing next? Oh, no, I'm sorry. The PMA, well, everybody's looked at that. That's pretty. We made some money on that. It's good. We're done. I'm done. Right?
Thank you, Carlotta.
Oh, you're welcome.
Vote on the financial report for October. Monzone,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Jost,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mesa Jack.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next, facilities. We kind of just did that. That was the update for facilities. So policy, nothing, but I know we do have the new policy that that you and Jeff are proposing, which is under new business. So we'll get to that. So next, staff reports. Well, Pam, you've been busy.
Yep.
Anything else that you did in your spare time? You know.
No, not really. Yeah, it has been a little busy, but that's okay. I'd rather be busy. I did give you kind of the update on what's happening with Sikich, at least with the accounting. As I mentioned, our audit is also coming up. So I was on the phone today with Sikich about the audit, and so most of that, almost all of that is well, everything's going to be done as remotely as possible this year, but even in previous years, we had already started to, you know, upload the documentation that they needed for the audit and that sort of thing. So, you know, years ago, we used to have, you know, 2 of the auditors on site for 2 full days kind of thing. Now it's, you know, they do most of the prelim work before they even get here. So, and they will do the prelim work. We're going to try to do, keep as remote as possible. So, I'm working with the auditor to, next week I'll start gathering all of the stuff that they need. So that'll be interesting because normally I'm not kind of in the weeds with that. That's always been Teresa and Blanche, you know, obviously for years. So, so we'll see how next week goes. It should be fine. So we're starting that process, and then the field work day is, all the prelims have to be in by the 11th of December. And then field work will be at the end of early January. And then, you know, the audit will be, you know, finalized, or, you know, the draft and then the final, and, you know, we'll probably try to approve it, you know, by next March or so. But, you know, with everything else going on as well, the audit is happening. So I know it probably seems either a million years ago or just like a month ago. The board will once again be getting those letters asking you about fraud and some different things like that. So that'll be coming up probably December, January. So that's the accounting and audit update. Do you want me to just go into the COVID stuff, Emily?
Yeah, go ahead with the COVID stuff. I know that, you know, I do want to say first that I know that this is, it's a high stress time, and I know that, and it's got to be frustrating, right? Especially since right now you're at a weird kind of, well, Illinois Department of Health has issued recommendations, and so there's a lot of like,
yeah. So there's, I mean, it's, you know, I had a meeting with the department managers this afternoon as we talked about this and kind of what our next steps should be. But Chad, I think he says, it's like deja vu all over again. We feel like we're back in March and trying to, make these measured and discussed, decisions and stuff like that. And then just flying by the seat of our pants because things change so quickly. So, after, certainly I've been watching all along, as I'm sure all of you have as well, for your own job and personal situations, the cases of COVID skyrocket, and it's alarming and scary and stuff. But and obviously when we went through the whole reopening plans and the creation of all the reopening plans and stuff, is this idea that we probably were going to have to talk about closing plans and that sort of thing. So this has always been in the back of our minds, mine and the managers. So I was feeling, and I do continue to feel pretty confident about the protocols and procedures we have in place. We were thinking about, were there things that we needed to cut back on, as we watched the cases go up and watching Governor Pritzker's press conferences and reading everything and knowing that probably some more restrictions were coming. So after the IDPH issued their recommendations yesterday, which again can be frustrating because everything's a recommendation, but we really started talking about what were our next steps. And then there's a lot of discussion on the director listserv, and then we had a meeting this afternoon with probably, I think there was like 30 area library directors, and so just kind of talking about what our next steps were going to be in response to the increase in cases and the IDPH recommendations, and then now today the recommendations by the city of Chicago. So what we decided on, is that we will keep the building open to the public, and we feel like we've got some really good protocols in place, but we will be closing the computer room, and our limits for people our time limits for people in the building right now are 45 minutes. So we're going to shorten those to 30 minutes. So, and then we're going to close, quote unquote, the copier and the public scanner. So we feel like implementing those restrictions allows us to still, have people in the building kind of for grab and go service, maintaining social distancing, wearing masks, all of those same rules still apply. And in the interim, or, as we move forward over the next few days, so that will go into effect Sunday, November 15th, so this Sunday. And then I'm already working with the department managers on what we would be calling, if we get a more restrictive order from the governor about, stay at home or, something like that. What does expanded curbside services look like? We would add it for every day of the week. Maybe we would do, curbside printing or curbside, copying and stuff like that, provide those kinds of services. So we're actively working on the plan for if we do have to go to closing the building completely to the public, but that's not where we're at right now. We're going to maintain regular hours and just have time limits, shorten the time limit and close the computer room. So that's kind of where we're at right now. For this period, for tonight, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that will stay true for tonight. And when I informed the staff that, one of the things I did say was, as we saw in March, things can happen very quickly when they happen. And I think I copied the board on that as well. If you haven't seen it, it will be in your board emails. Excuse me, but, I'll certainly do my best to make sure that everyone's aware of any changes that may impact the service that, we've decided that we're comfortable with right now. So there are some libraries in the area that are closing. Northbrook closed at 5 p.m. today, and will stay closed for approximately 3 weeks. A couple other libraries are planning on closing next week. Skokie is planning on closing next week, but that's due to their construction and not due to COVID. It just happened to work out at a good time for them. So we'll see if we have to make any adjustments, if we see an uptick in Skokie patrons coming in, where we potentially could have seen an influx of their patrons was in computer use, but since we're going to be closing the computer room, we're hoping to mitigate some of that. I don't believe that Niles has made a decision yet. So we're, we have a spreadsheet that was put together by Richard Kong, the director of Skokie, that has all the libraries in the area. And, you know, there's all these columns and questions about, you know, where we're at in terms of services, so that we're trying to, because we're close together geographically for so many of us. And, you know, and our patrons, you know, Warren Grove patrons go all over, Niles patrons go all over, Skokie patrons go all over. So, you know, Northbrook patrons go all over. So trying to kind of have people have a consistent library experience and not have situations that happened when libraries started to close in March. You know, people find out about, oh, this library's open, and they go racing over there, and then this poor library that didn't happen to close in time, or, you know, they closed a little bit later or something like that, got inundated. And so, you know, right now, you know, and I reminded the staff that we are in the middle of a pandemic. It's a global health emergency. It's certainly a national health emergency. And I do still feel strongly that, you know, the best public service we can get is to keep the community and their patrons safe, and as well as my staff. So, so that's kind of where we're at right now. And like I said, it could change tomorrow. If so, I will be in touch with Emily and all of you as necessary. But fingers crossed, we at least get through the next week or so, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's my exciting day today. That was my day was all COVID all day today.
Yeah, and it really is. It's not like there's literally no way to have a game plan for this that lasts longer than you know, a week, you know, but at best, but like usually like a few days maybe. So
I figured I jinxed myself because I started my monthly report saying that, you know, dare I say it, that October felt a little normal. That was probably that was it right there.
Yeah. But you know, well, and I get why you said that too. When you look at how much, how many great programs, and I will say again, and I know I say this a lot, but you know, regardless of us being in a pandemic or not, the staff is remaining so committed to providing such awesome programs. I have to say, one of my favorite parts of your report was how Jess wanted to take pictures of the pit for the Wimpy Kid thing. I mean, like, talk about that's making lemonade. Like that's amazing. So
yeah, Ed actually took video of it, and they showed the video, and Jess said they spent like 20 minutes talking about the video and watching the video of cleaning out the toilet pits. So
yeah. I could just see the kids going like, whoa, yeah. I thought that was awesome. So, and there are, and again, you know, and I got that, you know, that comment from someone about just, you know, the adult programs and just, you know, but yeah, you know, a lot going on. Any questions for Pam on, and you know, the SIGIC updates, COVID updates, anything on her report? Something else I thought that was notable, when you're looking at the stats, and you know, it's an abnormal year for sure, but back in the start in January, there were just over 53,000 books checked out, and we're just about there this month too. So again, so it just kind of shows how integral the library is for people, you know, and how well you guys have been keeping up too. So all right. So let's move. Oh, and then also the reduction of quarantine time for items coming back into the library. So that's good news, right?
Yeah, that was a big help, because one of the things that, especially once we started, you know, when we first started this and we quarantined, well, once we started getting, you know, materials back on interlibrary loan, because they didn't have it for a while. We were quarantining things for 7 days, but initially there was no delivery between all the different libraries and stuff. And so, so that was not a problem, you know, finding the space and quarantining, excuse me, those materials for that long. But now that, delivery between the libraries has started again, we were bumping up against having enough bins, having enough space, and that kind of thing to quarantine things for 7 days. So we were all really happy to have that go down to 3.
Yeah.
And even that, I know that there's some libraries that think that, and some librarians, I mean, not necessarily on my staff, but that we talk about these things all the time on these various listservs. But there are other states that are looking at the same data, the same science, and are quarantining things for 24 hours, for example. I think there's some libraries in Europe, and I think Oregon and a couple other places that are choosing to only do 24 hours. So, as we learn more and more about the virus, that may change as well. But the 3 days, we'll happily take that from 7.
Yeah, definitely. As always, shout out to Karina. That's awesome. Love it, love it. Okay, so let's move on. We already did unfinished business with the youth service renovation update. Yeah, we went through all that, the publicity, construction management budget, we went through all that. Okay, so new business. Our first are the 2021 board meeting dates. So everyone should have gotten a list of the proposed meeting dates for 2021. And these just need a official approval, is that
Yeah,
correct?
this is a standard, the second Thursday of every month, but we are required by statute to pass this and then post it once the board passes it.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 board meeting dates.
Second.
Motion.
Thank you.
Dear, yes. Puzo,
Yes.
Swanson. Swanson, you approving the board meeting dates? Nick's here, right?
Yes.
Okay. Jost,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mesa Jack,
Yes,
Monzone.
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, next, there was also a listing of the 2021 holiday closings for 2021 from New Year's Day to Christmas Day. Just again, to officially approve those days. So I will make a motion to approve the library closing for the 2021 holidays as listed.
I'll second.
Anybody have any discussion or all good with that to vote? Okay, Puzo,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Jost,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mesa Jack,
Yes,
Monzone,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes.
okay, thank you. So next, there's a new proposed policy or proposal, yeah, policy that I think is been submitted first and foremost by Jeffrey Ray, who's our circulation services manager. Do you want to do a couple highlights of that, Pam?
Sure. First, I think Jeff did a great job of writing this up. This is something that we've been talking about on and off for a while. There are a few libraries in the area that have removed expiration dates from their cards. The primary reason that we've had expiration dates on library cards has been to verify that a patron lives within our taxing district. And so, I think kind of from the beginning of time, it's always been 3 years that, we've issued library card, valid library card date to people. And then at the end of that 3 years, they expire and, you know, they can't use their card anymore. Years ago, that was less disruptive because most people were coming into the library to check something out and they found that they couldn't use their card, so they renewed it and that was no problem. You know, obviously, you know, even before the pandemic, you know, patrons were using us more and more and more in a virtual environment. And, you know, having those expiration dates we've run into some issues with that. So that was like kind of years ago as we started talking about this, is that, you know, people would try to use an online resource and they get, you know, stopped from doing it or something like that. And then as, you know, the past couple of years, as we've really focused on trying to remove barriers to access, you know, the couple of examples that Jeff points out in our proposal are really apropos. I mean, particularly if you think about, you know, the teen cards has been kind of a perennial thing for us, is that, you know, a kid will go to use his card and can't do it. And then you need, you know, the parent to come in and, you know, it just becomes this really convoluted process. And we can walk people through that if they are talking to someone either at the, you know, one of the public service desks, you know, either reference or at circulation. But again, as more and more people are, you know, almost half of our circulation comes through our self-check. So that's people that are coming in to get materials and using the self-check and leaving. So they may never talk to someone, you know, a staff member or whatever. So, you know, how many people are coming in and try to use their card or whatever, and then they leave because it doesn't work without talking to someone. So, you know, you know, getting rid of the expiration dates was always problematic, because then we're like, well, how can we verify, you know, that someone's really paying taxes into our district? As, you know, we are funded by taxpayer dollars. And so we want to make sure our services and collections are focused on serving our community first and foremost. And, but now with Unique Management, who also is our materials recovery service, they will run everyone's address against the NCOA, I think, I can't remember what it's called, but the National Address Database. And they can do that for, you know, as many times as we want them to, or as few. So what we're proposing is, you know, if the board agrees to eliminate expiration dates on the cards, we would run that report. We do a preliminary report of all cards, because we were also seeing this as a way to reach out to people who may have had or who have expired cards that are still in our system, that we can then reach out and say, hey, you know, did you know your card was expired? Now the card, you know, we don't have any expiration dates or something like that. So, you know, we're looking at it as a way that we can market ourselves a little bit more as well. You know, who has the card that's expired that hasn't come in to renew it. And then also, you know, it'll be an accurate check every year against our patron database to make sure that everyone that's in there is still living within our taxing district. So, you know, we see, you know, and the fee for running that, I mean, there is a charge, of course, from Unique for doing that, but it's fairly nominal, especially the kind of the maintenance running of the addresses. It'll be a little bit more this first time to run against all of our expired cards as well, or the entire database, so we can see what's expired. But, you know, we think it definitely falls on a better customer service experience for our users, that, you know, if someone's, you know, for some of you, you know, you've lived in your houses for 25, 30 years or whatever, if you've never moved, you know, why should we inconvenience you by making you come into the building to, you know, to renew your card if you wanted to check out an ebook or use an online database or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Any questions for Pam regarding that?
I have a question, but if somebody moves, you only have the address, correct? Do you know what I mean? They're gonna run this report with just addresses, but are there people associated with that address? And if someone has an expired card and comes in, they can use it because we're not issuing new cards, but they don't live here anymore.
So it's just like when you move, and it's the post office. I mean, they're running this against a postal service database. So
Okay.
Unique is. So we will be able to see those cards are associated with people. So once that report is run, we can see that, oh, Jane Doe, who used to live on, you know, Mango or whatever, has now moved to Skokie. And so at that point, when we get that notification, we can expire or block that card so that that person could no longer use it to check out physical materials or to check out or to do any kind of online stuff
So
because
that report reflects people that have moved in, like where they moved to, if that at all possible, but they no longer live at that address. Okay, okay. All right, I wasn't clear on that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff actually at one point says that I guess there's a Unique Management offers a service where they can easily check the patron address with the United States Postal Service. And so when they run that report, they get updates that, Jane and John or whatever are no longer in the area kind of thing. So if there are no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve the elimination of library card expiration dates for the library card policy.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, Swanson,
Yes.
Jost,
Yes.
Gonzalez. Gonzalez,
I know, I hear you. I'm
Sorry.
thinking here.
thank you. Masek,
Yes.
Monzone,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. And please be sure to give our thanks to Jeff, which is for what is always very thoughtful, laid out kind of argument for I mean, he always has the patron's best needs in mind, customer first kind of mentality. So give our thanks to Jeff for taking the time. To do
And
that.
he knows I like to see lots of information when he makes these proposals. So he's got to figure it out that he knows he has to do this and this and stuff. So I will for sure let him know and then keep the board up to date on the timing of everything because we don't know the exact, when we're going to exactly start this. So a lot of it depends on when we can get in the queue to run the initial first report and stuff, but I'll keep the board apprised of that.
Yeah. We're going to go into executive session. I may just do one little quick switch right here and just another option for public comments, non-agenda items. Mr. Harrod, was there anything that you wanted to say not agenda related?
No.
Okay. So for executive session, Pam, will I be given control here? And you're muted, sorry.
So we talk about this on the director listserv a lot because there's instances where our boards have had to go into executive session throughout this whole process. I think that probably the best way both to preserve separate recordings and to kind of keep me out of the session and stuff would be that I will make you a co-host of the meeting, Emily,
Okay.
and then put everyone into a waiting room. And we'll need to end the recording for this part of the session. And then then open up the executive session, start the recording, move everyone from the waiting room, the board members from the waiting room into the meeting, keep me in the waiting room, and then Mr. Harrod, if he's also going to be staying on, and then do your meeting. And then when you're ready to come out of closed session, end the recording, let me into the waiting room, and then we restart the meeting and restart a third recording.
Okay. So I hope this goes without saying, everyone bear with me here, okay?
So first I know it's technology is supposed to make our lives easier.
You can make the motion in this session though first.
Pardon?
Oh yeah, I can make a motion to go to executive session. Thank you. I will make a motion to go into executive session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body as allowed per 5 ILCS 120/2C1.
I'll second. I just wanted you to say all that. Okay. Jost? We're voting to go into executive session. Jost? Camera. You mute yourself.
Sorry, yes. Yes.
Thanks. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mesa Jack?
Yes.
Monzone?
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so Emily, I have made you single host of the meeting now, so you will have to move everyone into the waiting room. So we can actually stop you'll have to stop the recording.
Okay.
It's at the